Welcome to the 1 Minute Apologist. Apologetics seeks to give credible answers to curious questions, to give a defense. Why must we guard the gospel? Since the inception of the church, the gospel has been under attack, and we have a charge to guard the gospel. And it's critical as Christians that we do our best to be able to defend the gospel from heresy, from schism, and for those who would like to alter it or create a neo-gospel, which is really no gospel at all. We know that many of the believers in the early church were martyred because they guarded the gospel. Paul the Apostle was martyred under Nero for guarding the gospel. He knew what it was like totally to guard the gospel. In fact, he guarded the gospel against polytheism as he was before the Athenians. He guarded the gospel against the Jewish legalists known as the Judaizers in the book of Galatians. He guarded the gospel against those who denied the resurrection in 1 Corinthians chapter 15. He guarded the gospel against mysticism. Paul was somebody who championed guarding the gospel. So much so that when it came to writing to his young protege, young Timothy, he says, "Timothy, you need to understand something. By the Holy Spirit who dwells within us, guard the good deposit entrusted to you." Now, we know that Timothy and Paul and people in the early church aren't the only ones who had to guard the gospel. Throughout church history, we see people guarding the gospel. Martin Luther guarded the gospel at the Diet of Worms when he would not recant. We know that Charles Spurgeon, the great preacher of the 19th century, guarded the gospel during the downgrade controversy. And today, we're living in a time where we have got to protect the gospel from people trying to water it down or pander the gospel to appease those with itching ears. Would you stand for the gospel, guard it, and present it to a world who needs to know the good news, because that's what the gospel represents, the good news about Jesus Christ.